Good afternoon, everyone. Baby boomers exiting away from crowded cities. RV's a new thing right now. 51.2% decline in the GDP according to the Fed out of Atlanta. Bankruptcy top 25. Hertz rent-a-car. Economy left to collapse left, right, and center. I wonder if it's electrical phenomenon from this grand solar minimum, maybe a longer cycle. The Brochs, Scotland's Iron Age stone structures, heavily fortified, spurring the Atlantic roundhouse tradition. Multiple layers of fortification. Yeah, something changed from a nice warm climate to a cold climate. Marauders inbound. Which cycle are we on? Peter Temple out with a new set of charts and diagrams. And off a solar system scope, I'm going to drop this nugget on top here. Earth, magnetic sandwich, incredibly low solar activity, tugged out by all four gas giants making their own magnetic field. That'll be nice. Maybe that's what the governments are preparing for in such a swift manner. In today's world, it's critical to stay healthy and eat foods that give your body the nutrients it deserves. Have you visited oliveoil60.com yet? This groundbreaking blend of C60 olive oil has been proven to support immune systems, slow down aging. Carbon 60 is a powerful molecule acting as a nano antioxidant that stabilize and neutralize free radicals that assist with detoxification, helping your body function at optimal performance. The proprietary ESS60 formulation delivers more than 172 times the power of vitamin C. You can mix it in your salad, rub it on your steak, dip it in bread, or like thousands of others, simply take a healthy teaspoonful. You can purchase ESS60 in 3 tasty organic flavors: olive oil, avocado, and MCT coconut oil. People claim to sleep better, feel healthier, and have more energy when they take oliveoil60.com products. Get your ESS60 oil directly from the lab, oliveoil60.com. The link's in the description box below. And the sixth sense alarms buzzing across the planet. Everybody's feeling intuitively something was going on. Even last year, there was a lot of buzz in the air. Now there's a lot of distraction in the air to deflect from the real reason the sixth sense was flaring off. Those with money and retirement savings bailing the crowded cities first. This thing about the RV buying, rentals, it's a huge wave of spending. Who would have ever thought? Normally, in a declining economy, these are the first things that have zero buying appeal. But apparently this time, there's a premium on them. Can you believe it? Google Trends search RV hits a 16-year high as people want to escape the chaos. And those with some independent thought born in different generations are like, hey, we're out of here. We see the signs. Now, a lot of people, including myself, had thought, hey, it'd be a great idea to jump into a really remote Airbnb somewhere and ride this out for a few years. But we can see rental bookings collapsing, as well as the vast amount of foreclosures on those Airbnb superhosts that were getting 10, 20, 30, 50 properties to continue to build their empires in real estate. Monopoly board wiped out. So are your chances of renting somebody else's house. And at the same time, U.S. auto sales crashing. And that's no pun intended. Really a serious downturn in auto sales. I mean, look how many factories are closing across the planet. And here we go, Hertz rental car. Again, if you were going to rent and not buy, there's always a second option. Hertz makes the top 25 largest collapses of all time. So after 102 years of business, Hertz collapsed. And what I found baffling was they're now coming into the highest rental season for the summer. So why did they pull the plug before they had a chance to earn back for these next 4 months during high travel season? If we can't get on airplanes, why don't we do the staycation like 2008 and 2009? Something makes zero sense here why they're pulling the plug this early. But for you, this is the website, which I've linked below in the description box, as well as all of tonight's stories and images. Hertz is selling cars anywhere between 20 and 40% below the Blue Book value. Almost 1 million automobiles in their entire fleet. Now, Avis is selling half their fleet too, which made no sense to me because if Hertz went out of business, Avis should be jumping for joy like, yes, we're going to swoop up all their market demand. But Avis is like, we're going to sell half our cars. So the big corporations have advanced notice of what's going on in the economy, and something tidal wave-ish is coming right at us, and everybody's bailing right now off the beach. The Atlanta Fed coming out with this gross domestic product forecast, GDP, second quarter of this year, April, May, June. Not 10% like so many analysts were thinking of. They were thinking 13 was so far beyond the scope of what was even comprehensible that 13, you were a straitjacket candidate for saying 13%, 14%. Get this guy off the stage, tranquilize him, off to the funhouse. And it comes in at 51% down. These numbers are so absurd that the economy is being sacrificed literally for another reason. There's something so vast, so giant coming in that it can't be held together. So it's going to be let go in order for elites and governments to prepare while they just hyperinflate away until this event takes place. Probably 2023, 2024. We'll go into that in a second here. But the GDP Now stats forecast down, 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 green line. They're going to have to go down to negative 60 here as we move forward, I think. So Peter Temple, World Cycles Institute, we've done an interview together a year and a half ago. He's put out some new charts with different time scales and cycles intertwining, overlapping. So I encourage you to watch what the webinar that he put out. Links also in the description box below. You're going to learn so much from that about cycles and how really you can forecast a lot of this out. So institutions with access to vast supercomputers have a real good idea where this is all moving to in terms of climate and economy, or ability for governments and countries to grow food for their citizens or not. So keep in mind, all these cycles are like small little dials in the back of a Swiss watch, intertwining, moving. Now, I think we're into, at the bare minimum, a 400-year cycle that would be termed a Grand Solar Minimum. But those in turn are on larger cycles as well, coupling up in 1,200-year iterations. 8 of those would be 3,200 years back into the Iron Age. And you get different multiples that we can see. Even the 11-year solar cycle can be put 36 times into a Grand Solar Minimum. So the 11-year cycle, 36 of those cycles is roughly one Grand Solar Minimum. Now, why did I say 3,200 years in a cycle? I mean, I'm looking at the 400-year cycle, that's fine. That's just a given that we're in that one. NASA agrees, European Space Agency, almost everybody across the board says, this solar cycle or next, we're heading into a Grand Solar Minimum. Get ready. It's going to get cooler. And we know what happened in the modern minimum. Less crops, economy collapse, population migration. The regular fingerprints of the Grand Solar Minimum. But I want to take you to the left over there where it says Ancient Egypt, New Kingdom. Well, at the top red there, that would be the Iron Age apex as well. And then we see the descent down into the Greek Dark Ages. Wonder what happened back then. And we start to see other cycle tops as well, from the Vikings to the Mayans to the Romans, and it's all based on solar activity. So Iron Age history, just a simple history.com search will bring you to 1200 BC, 3,200 years ago, and then the collapse itself. But during this time, the Brochs in Scotland, these circular stone structures, classified, quote unquote, as a defensive fort. But of course, others won't admit that it was for fortification against whatever invaders were coming because of crop shortages and economic plight, whatever's happening at that time. Oh, it's a status symbol. And you start to take a look at how integral these things were for defensive positions along the entire coast of Scotland. And I look inside, that is a storage area if you're going to be fighting. And, you know, it's really incredible the way they were stacking the stones. And then I came across this image here showing literally how thick and intertwined with passageways those were for defensive positions. You can see the people in there quite easily. Now, gauge how easy that would be to bust through that wall or not and escape down other small passageways and things that you could store all through there. Food, water, munitions, whatever it might be. And see, this spurred this movement in architectural building, Moat and Bailey, or another way, Atlantic roundhouse tradition, where you can see the amount of fortification and walls stepping up hills. Because if you're coming to take over this position, you're going to have to go through one set of walls, which was taller than you could climb. And then you're going to have to come to another, and then another. And then at the apex, they're going to have one of these Brochs up there for you. And the ones that are still standing number between 500 and 600 still up in the Scottish landscape. But as I was reading and doing some research on the video here, there have been thousands that were torn apart to use the actual stones to build walls, houses, and repurpose that stone for other things in the local community. So what we have here is just literally a spackling. So you have to think about that. Let's say 10x. There were 6,000 of these at the apex. What were they defending from? Could have been weather, of course, but that only takes you so far. You know, really what went on in history and what are we not seeing, or where are these hidden chapters that explain all of this? Now, one of the most famous that you can still visit, a lot of images up there, Musa Broch, like Loch Ness, Broch, same. But some interesting one here in the Shetland Islands, there are quite a few out there as well, that builders of the time somehow just went to all this trouble to house animals. Kind of like South Africa, you know, with all those enigmatic stone circles down there. Oh, it looks very similar to this, doesn't it? Energetic potential, perhaps. Another way to generate electricity that we're not aware of. Paleozoic effects, harnessed plasma fields. Seems that way back in history there was a lot more going on than we give the simpletons credit for. They were much more advanced. So where do we sit in the cycles here? This event is the actual apex pull on the Earth's magnetic field with the sun, with the four gas giants lined out. So as it was explained to me, those four gas giants and the configuration of that perfect square out there are going to create their own field within themselves out there in a wider dispersed field than one of them by itself. But when they're lined up like this, let's say that's magnetic field A further out there, then we have magnetic field B directly off the sun, and we're getting tugged between the two massive fields. This is a once in a 2,000-year event. The last time that this thing came around, 79 AD. Now, as we enter into this through 2021, 22, 23, we're going to see massive earthquakes, massive volcanic eruptions, to the point where we might even see infrastructure broken and volcanic haze where it would, diminish crop yields across the globe. So this makes a lot more sense to me about why the economy is not trying to be resuscitated in any way, shape, or form. Every government's complicit. They're putting out a giant stage play, if you will. It's distraction after distraction after distraction that needs to get more Hollywood-esque. Your attention needs to be diverted away so you don't see a lot of these inbound events. My personal opinion is we're heading to a reset, literally, of civilization, economy, and energies, which will allow you to manifest in this era as we move through. And again, keeping people apart is very much part of this, because the potential of what's about to happen with electromagnetic frequency changes in the sun on our Earth and you as a receiver has great implications, how fast we can manifest and what we can create as a species thinking the same thing. There's a lot more to this than just a couple bridges falling down. And if you like this type of information, I take the videos and then put them into written content with PDFs so you can explain it to your friends, family, along with the charts and all the text been transcribed right here on oilseedcrops.org, my website. And while you're there, if you move your mouse around for about 10 seconds, this box is going to pop up. You can start receiving the newsletter, which I put out twice monthly, about some of these same changes and discuss how to thrive and survive during this Grand Solar Minimum. And please remember the links for all of tonight's stories are in the description box below the video. I thank you for watching. Hope you got something out of it, and I'll see you next time.